Sometimes you hear a story and you think, no way, that's gotta be a movie. Well, this is one of those stories. And it's all true. We're talking about a tale that's gonna make you question everything you think you know about love and kidnapping. So, was it a love story or was it a kidnapping? For more than 10 years, the police, the FBI, they were all sure they knew the answer. They thought they were chasing a dangerous kidnapper and his poor, helpless victim. But as we're about to find out, the real story? Oh, it was way more complicated. And honestly, a lot more shocking. All right, let's set the scene. The year is 1993. We're inside an Oklahoma State prison. And this is where two people who could not be more different are about to cross paths. And their lives are gonna get tangled up in a way that, trust me, nobody saw coming. Okay, so who are we talking about here? First up, you've got Bobbi Parker. She's 32, a mom of two, and she just happens to be married to the prison's deputy warden. She's not exactly happy in her marriage, and she volunteers teaching a pottery class for the inmates. Then you have Randolph Dial. He's an inmate doing time for murder. But here's the twist. He's also this incredibly talented artist, a sculptor, and from what everyone says, a total model prisoner. So, because Dial was this well-behaved guy and a really good artist, he gets some special perks. One of those perks? Helping Bobbi run her pottery class. And, well, you can probably guess what happened next. They started spending a ton of time together, even going off prison grounds to sell their pottery. And somewhere along the way, this professional relationship, it turned into something else. They fell in love. Now, Bobbi's not naive. She knows this secret thing they have going on can't last forever inside a prison. But instead of breaking it off, which would be the, sane thing to do, she goes in a completely different direction. She makes this unbelievable, life-changing choice. She decides she's gonna help him escape so they can run away and be together. Okay, so let's get into the escape itself. How in the world do you pull this off? I mean, really, think about it. How do you just waltz a convicted murderer right out the front gate of a prison, especially when your husband is the deputy warden? It sounds impossible, right? Well, the plan was so simple, it's kind of brilliant. Bobbi tells her husband she's just popping out to do some shopping. She gets in the family minivan, picks up Dial, and they just drive. They drive right up to the front gate, and the guards, they recognize them. They've seen them leave together 100 times to get pottery supplies, so they just give them a little wave, open the gate, and off they go. No alarms, not a single red flag. Just like that, they were gone. So you can imagine the panic when Bobbi's husband realizes his wife is gone, and so is a convicted murderer. The immediate assumption, the only assumption really, is that she's been kidnapped. Right away, it's a massive manhunt. Dial's face is everywhere. FBI's most wanted list, the whole 9 yards. But here's the thing. The entire investigation, from the very beginning, was completely built on a lie. So, they're out. They've pulled off the impossible. But what now? What does life on the run actually look like? How do you build a whole new life when you're constantly looking over your shoulder? They made their way down to Texas, to this tiny, off-the-grid town called Campsie. They got new names, started working on a chicken farm, and just disappeared into the background. For years, they lived this quiet, normal life. It got so comfortable that Dial even called the author of a book written about their case to set the record straight that it wasn't a kidnapping. And get this, at one point he has a heart attack. She could have walked away right then and there. Perfect excuse. But she didn't. She stayed right by his side in the hospital. 11 years. Just let that sink in. For over a decade, they went to work, they went to church, they were just that quiet couple down the road that nobody really paid much attention to. And no one had a clue. So after 11 years of living completely under the radar, how does it all come to an end? You might think it was some brilliant police work or a lucky break, but the answer is actually television. Yep, a TV show. So by 2005, this case is pretty cold, but it's not totally forgotten. The TV show America's Most Wanted decides to dig it up and feature the story. The dramatic tale of the warden's wife kidnapped by the dangerous inmate. And just like that, their faces are back on TVs all across the country. And sometimes that's all it takes. Someone is watching, or in this case, browsing the show's website, and they see Dial's picture. And you can just imagine that moment. Wait a second, I know that guy. That's my neighbor. That person picks up the phone, makes a call, and just like that, leads the police right to their front door. And boom, it was over. After 11 years, sheriff's deputies swarmed the farm. The quiet couple who had lived this anonymous life for so long are suddenly surrounded. Dial is arrested and Bobbi is taken into custody, finally rescued from her captor. At least, that's how it looked on the surface. Okay, so this is where things get really interesting. This is where the story everyone thought they knew just smashes head-on into the truth. Because when the police start questioning them, Dial and Bobbi tell the exact same story. And I mean, it was perfectly rehearsed, like they'd been practicing it for years, which they probably had. So her story is, he forced me at knife point, he held me prisoner for all those years. His story is, yep, I kidnapped her, she was my hostage, it was all me. It was a neat little package all designed to make her look like the victim and save her from any charges. The only problem? The investigators? They weren't buying it, not for a second. And when police searched the little trailer they lived in, that whole kidnapping story just completely unraveled. What did they find? A love letter she wrote to him while he was in the hospital. Condoms, a sex toy. Not exactly what you'd find in a hostage situation. They found cards they'd given each other. Their trailer had 2 bedrooms, but it was pretty obvious only one was being used. And the biggest thing? She had so many chances to escape, especially when he was sick in the hospital, but she never took any of them. So in the end, the physical evidence told a much louder story than they did. Dial, he took a plea deal for the escape and got another 7 years tacked onto his sentence. And Bobbi Parker, the supposed victim, she went to trial, was found guilty of helping him escape, and was sentenced to a year in prison. This whole story is just incredible, and it leaves you with this one big question, right? For 11 years, these two, a convicted murderer and the woman who broke him out, they lived a totally normal life. Nobody had a clue. It really makes you wonder, what kind of secrets are hiding behind the normal lives all around us?